lovely bookworms. I'm Esmay from Paradise with Pages on Instagram and also on Twitter, and welcome to a new video. It's been a while since I sat back down and filmed a video. I've been very inactive on here and I haven't filmed anything in the past, I would say 3 weeks. Yes, I finished the vlog which came up, but that's already been a week and a half ago, I'd say, maybe even longer, I'm not sure. But I wanted to talk about what has been occupying my mind. You've already seen in the title that I will also be talking about the books that I've read in May, but there's something much more important to talk about, and I want to talk about it. That said, I do have difficulty putting my opinion or putting it into words, so to say, which I apologize for. I am trying. That said, of course I am talking about the importance of the Black Lives Matter movement. I've been following all the stories that have been going on Twitter. I do have to say that I've been repulsed by everything that I have seen so far coming out of the US, and also the stories that I've read of people around the world encountering racism. The fact that there are still people who think that they are better than others because of the fact that they are a different skin color is insane. We are living in 2020 and this shouldn't be a problem. This shouldn't be an issue. Yet it is, and it is an issue of lack of basic human rights. It has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with the fact that some people are basically just given the stamp minority and treated differently, and it is disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. It tears at my heartstrings, and though I think it's idiotic that we still have to talk about it, it is also very important that we do. That said, as many of my other booktubers have done, I will be linking down below in the description box places where you can sign petitions and also places where you can donate if you have the means. I think you've all seen the links and hopefully you've also been signing them. So something that I also want to talk about is a book that I have been reading. I do have to say that I'm not finished with it, but I am quite a way through and it really opened my eyes even more than they already were, and that book is called Open Season by Ben Crump. I hope I am pronouncing his name correctly. There will be a cover on my right side, and this book basically shows you multiple instances of racism. That's just plain and simple, that's what it is. And it was so eye-opening to read about the different instances of police brutality in this book, and also the fact that so many, if not all of them, got away with it without being punished. They just got away with it. The legal system just let them go, and they would have lost their jobs if that was even the case. And it was eye-opening to read, but I was also shocked that it happened so often. I knew that this was something that was going on in the world. I just didn't know how often it occurred, and it really scared me. If you are personally tired of hearing about racism, how do you think it feels for people who have to live through it every single day? I know that I'm fortunate, I don't have to encounter racism, but I know some of my friends have talked about it and have talked about how they were treated differently because of the way they look or the beliefs they have or their sexuality. It's just, it's so basically wrong, and I can keep going about this and I will not shut up about this. I hope that I will be able to link more books in the description box, because there will be a link to Goodreads if you want to check this book out. And hopefully I will be reading more of these in the future once I'm finished with this one, because I want to read it thoroughly and that takes some time. But it's important to read about it. It's important to know about these things, and it's important to talk about them. So I am talking about them. I will stand with the Black Lives Matter movement. I will stand with so many of you, if you feel like you are treated differently for your beliefs, the way you look, the way you think, your sexuality, the way you are, I hear you, I see you, and I stand with you where I can. If there's anything that I can do, please just don't hesitate to message me. I will be there. I will listen to you. I will educate myself where I can. And I think that is the least that I can do. So that's what I will be doing. And that's something that's really been occupying me at the moment. And I hope that I have put my feelings into words the right way, because I find it difficult to talk about this, even though I know that it is incredibly important to talk about it. So I'm trying, I'm learning, and yeah, that's the least I can do. I know that the transition from this to what I've read in May is weird, but I do want to talk about the books that I've read this month, or last month rather, so let's get into those books. Last month I have organized the Desertathon, and I want to thank all of you so much for participating. I think we will be back next year, and I've heard so many people have enjoyed their reading and have enjoyed the Desertathon, so thank you guys so much for that. It means the world to me, and yeah, it was great. That said, I want to start with the books that I've read during the Desertathon. I've actually read 4 in total, and the first one that I started with was The Wrath in the Dawn by Renee Audier. I love this book. It is basically a retelling of Arabian Nights and a reread for me. Once again, 5 stars. Next up, I have the second book in this duology, which is The Rose and the Dagger. I actually replaced a different book on the list to get this in because I really want to reread it, and that was my second book and also a reread. I know, not a great score, but I loved it. 5 stars yet again, and that was book number 2. Then book number 3, and also the second to last book, was a book that really disappointed me, but was a 5-star prediction for me, weirdly enough, and that is The Candle and the Flame by Nafisa Zod. I have been looking forward to reading this book so much, and I ended up giving it 2 stars. The reason for this is that I didn't like the main character. The way she changed overnight and went from 0 to 100 was very unbelievable, even for a fantasy book. She also kept on focusing on the fact that she was now different and that she was no longer Fatima, but Fatima Ghazala, and it really got on my nerves. Also, the way that relationships and love in general was handled in this book was sort of felt like it was the way that like kids would think about love, which is something that I would have liked to see differently. That said, I do have to add that the world building of this book was absolutely phenomenal, and I also would like to add that I loved the side characters. They were all very interesting, and I would love to know more about them. If there ever came a book in the same world, I would definitely read it, because the writing style itself I really enjoyed, and I flew right through it. But in general, I think this book was just not for me. Then the final book that I've read for the Desertathon was The Lantern's Ember by Colleen Hook. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And this book was not what I thought it would be. I actually expected a very desert-inspired book. Once I read the synopsis, I knew that that wasn't the case, but still, it was not what I expected. I don't think I can tell you what I really expected, but this was filled with adventure, running around, just meeting different types of monsters, yet not monsters, and vampires and werewolves and everything along the lines. It was strange. I also really liked the idea of the lanterns that were in here. The only thing I did not like about the book was the fact that everybody was pining over the same girl. Literally 3 of the side/main characters were pining for our main protagonist, and I don't like love triangles. I like it less even when everybody wants the same girl, because that's just not realistic. That said, it was a very, very interesting book, and I had a lot of fun with it, and I could get past the entire love relationship thing, so yeah, I did really enjoy it. Then let's talk about the Game of the Books, because that went horrible. I had 5 books to read, and the only one that I read was Everless by Sarah Holland. I enjoyed this one though. I'm just going to continue on from the fact that I didn't finish most of the books, or, well, almost all of the books of my game of the book. So let's talk about Everless. Everless itself, I really enjoyed. It was such an interesting story, and I loved the idea of how time was used as a means of money in this book. So the rich had a lot of time, and the poor had very little, and I really enjoyed that about the book. That said, something that I didn't really like was the storyline itself. It was very cliche at times and also very predictable, but I had a lot of fun. I flew right through it, and it was a good read for last month. Then I have 3 more books to talk about, and the first one was the second book in the Everless duology, which is called Evermore. I like this one profoundly less than the first one, and that was probably because of the fact that the entire notion of time was mostly left out, which was sad because that was one of the things that I really, really enjoyed about the book. And it also turned into a sort of extra fantasy kind of thing that I wasn't really into. Also, the romance in the second book was just way too quick, and I didn't really like how that was built up. But I, in general, did really like the duology, so I can recommend it if you like something quick, easy, and something interesting and new, I would have to say. Then I have 2 more books left, and the first one is Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. This one I think is inspired by Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. Let me start by saying that if you want to read either or, I would go for the Agatha Christie one, but I've enjoyed it. This basically is about a group of friends that want to celebrate the new year somewhere different, which they do. They actually go to I think it's sort of a cottage kind of thing in Scotland, and then one of them ends up dead, and they realize that one of the other ones murdered them. So it was interesting to read. I did very early on realize who was involved, so who was sort of murdered and the murderer. I had them the other way around though, but that said, it was an interesting read. It was a quick read, and I was in the mood for some murdery, mystery kind of thing, and that was exactly what I got. I think I gave this one 4 stars, something along those lines. So I can definitely recommend it if you're looking for something like this and you've already read And Then There Were None. Lastly was something that was very much not in my reading space, so to say, and that was Every Heart a Doorway by Shannon Maguire. I actually came across this book on SCRIBD when I was looking for a new audiobook and realized that it was only 4 hours and thought, you know what, why not? I'll break my own reading, so to speak, because it's something that I wouldn't have picked very quickly, but I really enjoyed it. We follow Nancy, and Nancy found a way to the realm of the dead and then was actually kicked out of it, yet wants to find her way back. Her parents realize that she's incredibly changed and sent her to the school for wayward children, and once she gets there, she realizes that there is a murderer on the loose, and there's a mystery aspect to this book. It was quick, it was easy, it was interesting, yet a little bit predictable, but so cool to read all these different kinds of characters. They all had their own ideas. They also had their own worlds that they went to. So one of them actually went to Fairyland, and then the other one went to the Realm of the Dead, which was super interesting. And I've also been continuing the series, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I gave that one, I think, also 4 stars. So that was pretty good. That said, those were all of the books that I read in May. I do want to let you guys know that there will not be a June TBR video any kind of way. I'm so sorry for that. I think it will be back in July. I've just been going through some personal things and basically just sort of scars of the past that I have to work through once again. And I just need some time to read the books that I feel like reading because I'm such a mood reader, and yeah, I just feel like that's what I want to do right now. That said, that is everything for this video. I will be continuing with videos. I have some ideas that I think you would really like to see. Once again, please do check out the description box for all of the important links, and I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and press that little bell icon so that you get post notifications every single time that we post, and I hope to be seeing you guys the next time. Bye!